In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/groundadvantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Hello and welcome to IMP's AEW Adventures podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Help the network out by leaving us a 5-star review, give a donation directly through Red Circle, and become one of the amazing community by joining the Social Suplex Discord. A link is in the description. Read the Social Suplex newsletter. Shouts out to Trish and Tim as always, and to every person who's contributed so far. Listen to the other top-notch shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network: One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Trish and Sarah, Tunnel Talk, Sam Brown's AEW Match Guide, and Joshing Around. My name is Matt Mayer, aka Imp, and this is your quick look back at the AEW week that was. 30 minutes of Montreal, Quebec, Canada for Redemption. Our stopgap on the way to All In. The pay-per-view in the way. The fast lane to WrestleMania rather than the huge setup show send us again into WrestleMania. But treated by AEW like a huge leaping off point in terms of all of their major stories going into the show. So even though I said fast lane, I guess I'm closer to what No Way Out was in the early 2000s, which was a show which very directly would then leap towards WrestleMania. That feels closer to this rather than a generic, we've got a pay-per-view, so let's just get through it and not get anyone hurt, which is kind of what Fastlane was. Elimination Chamber is very much a straight second chance setup for people, so AEW doesn't really have anything like that. I think for the good, because it's going to be a lesser match, so why would you do something like that to set up a lesser match for AEW? That makes no sense. But for all of your major stories, you use that as like a huge leaping off point. Anyway, and there were folks thinking that this show might be below par. Like, why? I know the conditioning takes a while to wash off, but we've got to stop treating AEW like WWE. Different quality, different par. When the focus is in the wrestling, it's far easier for your setup stopgap pay-per-view to still absolutely bang. And even though some of these matches were very much stories that have been building up for a very long time, there's also stuff which was just, we're doing that, are we? Just filling out the card with, just put on a banger match. Technically, Fletcher Bandito fits into that, even though it had a bigger setup than, let's say, the opening ladder match. But I thought this pay-per-view absolutely did its job in both setting up Wembley and setting up the road for Wembley. Like, if you're watching that closing segment and you're not suddenly excited for not just Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega, but also Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega versus the Death Riders, suddenly it's like, it's Will Ospreay going to be teaming up with the Elite to do tag matches against the Death Riders. That surely sets up an incredibly exciting run of television shows on the way to Wembley. So yeah, it's a show I'm leaving feeling overall positive as well. We'll go through it beat by beat as well. We've got some title changes to talk about. One of the matches was even used to set up the Arena Mexico show, so not even doing All In. It's like, oh wow. Okay, so we're continuing to set up just the whole series of TV. I think there's a note to take away. It wasn't just setting up Wembley, it also set up the route to Wembley and all the TV shows for the run to it. So we're not just laying down and having a little bit of a sit and a cozy and a nice kind of relaxed build. That's a criticism I have of WWE, especially current WWE. Obviously, I'm not as well versed about the WrestleMania it's just happened because I didn't watch any of it. But in years past, you'd have quite a few shows which were just run of the mill. We're killing time till we get to the big events, or we're killing time till we can actually do the story at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, and then you'll have a whole load of nothing again until the go-home week of WrestleMania. It feels like AEW are directly tackling that, one with the Arena Mexico show, so you got a big show on the road, but also setting up all these really interesting stories, because Death Riders versus Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega is not a pay-per-view match. Like, the Young Bucks are facing Edge and Christian. Like, it's not, for any of the people involved, it's not going to be the pay-per-view match. Anyway, let's start off with the 6-man ladder match, which was for the number one contendership for the International Championship. Jack Perry, Speedball, Nick Wayne, Beast Mortos, El Clon and Kommander. And this match was immediately into the action. All the lads stood around ringside as Excalibur delivered his show opening jabber after the pyro. If there was any way to seem entirely opposite to your competition, where they do the city panning shot, then you get to the stadium, then you get to the wrestlers walking in, and then you have a video package play, then you have the welcoming type of thing, then you get the video promo play for the match, then they make their entrances, and it's been about 5 to 10 minutes by the time anything happens. This show, pyro, bam, Excalibur's running his jabber really, really quickly. All the people are already there, ring the bell, ding ding, you're under the action in a minute. Like, bang, like just like a complete opposite to what the competition are doing. So before I actually start talking about the match, I may have in my recording already done it and then go, no, wait a second, leave a gap to do the actual clip. God damn, I got too excited to talk about Redemption. So let's play the clip and then I'll talk about Mike Bailey's night in Canada. There was only ever going to be one winner, but we had fun with it. Anyway, let's play the clip of the ladder match and then we'll get into it.
I told you, this is the man I told you would win. I was right.
Yes, Mike Bailey, the Canadian favourite, as all your favourite baddies got their boos chucking them about. El Clon and Kommander one hell of a lucha pairing for a ladder match, just fucking diabolical. Jack Perry, the clear other favourite, booed like the biggest villain in the country. Like, you looked at this lineup and there were only ever 2 maybe winners. Mike Bailey was always going to win. But because Jack Perry was a potential second choice, he got the hell booed out of him, and they did lean into it later. Tippy top of the ladder up on the stage, Speedball moonsaulted back onto all the lads. Jack Perry with his best, should I, as he climbed the ladder and also moonsaulted, not from the tippy top, so he could land on his feet and carry that ladder down to the ring like a big smart jungle man, properly leaning into those huge cheer boos between Perry and Speedball as they tussled on the apron. And then loved the idea of a Nick Wayne springboard cutter stopping Bailey's moonsault, just a tad of a beat off, so Bailey had to stand on the apron for like a second in waiting because he'd finished his bit. Then Nick came cuttering in. Kommander ran the ropes to get the angle to dropkick Mortos. Then in pinning the beast under the ladder, he was too far away to reach the contract before getting dumped onto his back. Like, hey, a series of ladder spots where each successive bit made a logical sense. It wasn't just we're setting up to do the spot. It's like, no, Mortos was on the other side of the ladder, so he ran the ropes. He gave him to do his cool spot where he runs the ropes, hits a dropkick. Then Mortos is still there, so he pins him on the ladder, but in doing so, he's then mucked up his ability to reach the contract, which then lets Mortos dump him. It's like, yeah, each successive bit, it just made sense. All the folk up on 3 ladders. Beast Man won, but me knee let Jungle Jack back, and they let Perry get the tables cheer. He, El Clon and Nick Wayne all set up one on different sides of the rings. Like, okay, we're going to get a series of happy table times. Perry head scissored Mortos through the table. El Clon foot stomped through the table. Kommander walked the ropes and floated over through the table. Absolutely glorious. El Clon bridged a ladder Brett's rope to a ladder. Leg trapped driver thing to Kommander off the elevated height. Now Nick Wayne's turn to climb a ladder and moonsault through a table. So he Phoenix splashed it, of course. Absolute show off. Shitty pain for both Perry and Wayne. That previously set up bridge crashed into and broken with a destroyer in Canada. The hometown hero in. Moonsault double knees to a Brett's rope ladder draped Mortos. And huge cheers for Bailey grabbing that number one contender's contract. Was never going to be anyone else. And way later in the show, Mike Bailey got a minute with Alexi Nair, who asked when they're cashing in. They chose August 5th in Arena, Mexico. Really fun opener and starter. I assume that at some point there was the workings of maybe just doing the Bucks and Ospreay and Mox to open the show. But then it was like, no, let's just have fun. Just do a match like this with like no stakes. We just really get you amped up for the rest of the show. Then immediately into the match with stakes. Like, I'm not the biggest fan on the ladder matches. They've reached a point of doing ladder spots. It's reached a point of saturation where I've just seen it so many times that it's difficult to make me go, whoa. So the bits I pop for the most are when I know it's a move. Like Kommander running the ropes is always impressive. The fact he's doing it through a table is almost like a non-factor because it's the rope walk and float over. That's impressive. So bits like that, things like you doing it onto the ladder doesn't get the reaction like it used to out of me. You've got to do like something little extra. But the purpose of this match was literally just like to amp you up, get you excited for the rest of the match, and then you get your story immediately after. It was just a match with a bunch of lads doing a bunch of cool spots, and then we move on. I just did like that for some of the spots there was like a very logical, well, if I do this to do that, that means that results in this outcome, rather than, oh, we need that to be there to set it up so we can do this move. There was a bit more logic put into it. So I'm a bit more appreciative than I am of past ladder matches. I'm not just talking WWE ones, like AEW ladder matches also had the same thing. Like the match where they had to grab the brass ring. Like they weren't all great with those ones. Anyway, I've already hyped up the story match that came after this, so let's just move on to it. The Young Bucks versus Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley. For the first time, Will Ospreay entered with the Death Rider music and red light crowd entrance. He's finally buying in, at least an appearance at the start of this match. A shot with him all serious, staring into a mirror, paired with a video having just replayed us the Bucks saying there's no redeemable qualities for any of the Death Riders, that John's in his head, and Mox's words about being exactly who they present themselves as, that Will needs to be able to pull that trigger of violence no matter who the opponent is. Like, what a character setup for this match. And character matches, story matches like this are arguably where the Bucks absolutely shine their brightest. So even though the Bucks are doing something with Edge and Christian right now, it makes all the sense in the world for the good of the Ospreay story that he has this huge story tag against the Bucks. And the setup for it came immediately with an early bit with Nick getting his bell rung off an accidental head-to-head with Will's head. Just that setup for Mox to question why the fuck he's asking if the man's okay when he should be jumping the hell in and just beating up the singled out Matt Jackson. Marina Shafir more than happy to play the game though, yanked Matt off the apron and into the steel steps. Jackson meet all prime for the boys. Mox too more than happy to play villain, yanking Nick off the apron when Matt had finally worked his hot tag. And because he's Moxley, a ringside power driver just for good measure. I'm surprised the referee allowed that from Big Nige enjoying the violence on commentary. Nick Jackson tagged himself back in, with his brother not sure he should. Nicely set up for Will to have to make that decision and show that violence later in the match. Mox again at ringside villain. Meltzer driver springboard caught into, and Ospreay Styles clash, like yum yum yum. That was delicious. And right when the rider time was flowing lovely, accidental friendly fire, springboard forearm to Papa Mox. Then blooming neck, the sequence after. Nick 450, Will 450, Matt Destroyer, BT trigger to Mox, hidden blade to the Jackson pinning, like all in quick fire fashion. Again, the rocked state of Nick brought unsubtly front and centre, doing so well to convince you Will's gonna have to kill him. Rocked with Ospreay kicks groggy, then a stiff as hell forearm sent Mox into the happiest cheering state. Ospreay with the elbow pad of intent down. He hesitated for a second and Matt went into the save. Annoyed the merciless Mox who tagged in and stomped in. With Will in his own head, just be like, oh no, emotions. Just acting ringside. It's like, oh, I'm feeling emotions, hands on head. Matt Jackson inadvertent super kick to Shafir. The Bucks had a flash, but Mox hit paradigm shift after paradigm shift on Nick. The whole time we're watching it, seeing the teacher give example of what Ospreay's gonna have to do at Wembley. But here, Will couldn't do it. And let's not forget that the Bucks are the number one tag contenders for Wembley. They entered super kick supreme. Will grabbing the chair off Mox, caught him a foot in the face, then kick after kick after kick for the Bucks to win. Will Ospreay, not going in for the kill, for the violence, lost him the match. Love them doing that. He couldn't do it. You got to see what he should have done through Mox, but he didn't have it in him. So what happens at Wembley? And what happens at Wembley, indeed. With the format of my show, I'm going to have to pause this story. I mean, there's one more setup note. Later in the show, Renee interviewed Ospreay backstage. Mox not happy at all. Nick Jackson's got a history of head trauma. I'm so sorry, Nick. Welcome to pro wrestling. Didn't have any of Will's excuses. I don't want to be there when you learn this lesson the hard way. So if you don't want to pull the trigger, I will. You know, what a setup for what we get later in the show. I was half tempted to just jump to the main event, but I've got a format here. I'm going to go through the show in order, just to pause in this incredibly well-told story. This is what I mean for this show. It set up so much interesting television for the next few weeks. It's all because here on this night, he believed he was going too far. If on the night Will Ospreay realises Mox was right, then that's just such incredible storytelling where he's suddenly realising, no, Mox was correct, I do have to go for this kill. They could also just, not play it, but it feels like this has been such an interestingly told story with so many different layers. I keep bringing up the competition, but, there's no question that in the other place, you're not going to be asked to question the decisions of your lead hero character as much as this. You want to know why people boo Cody? It's because he doesn't get this. This here, where Will Ospreay's having to make really difficult decisions, and he isn't always choosing the correct option. Be it because the Death Riders will now beat him up, or be it because he was enticed by the Death Riders in the first place. All of this is all about the question of, does Will Ospreay have it in him to do that killing shot to win the title? It's all to the benefit of his character. Yep, that's why Cody Rhodes gets booed, because his character is never tested, he's always correct, he's the character of always correct virtue. He's never wrong. And that is incredibly boring. Fair to say Will Ospreay is not the character of morality. He's not the decider of all that stuff. He comes out and he calls people a slag and talks about having sex with his wife. He's very much not that kind of character. Never mind the in-ring, hero decisions or not. Flawed characters are inherently more interesting. And I feel like they're doing so well to specifically set up the third act or final gear for the Kenny Omega Will Ospreay match. That that moment when all the Moxie teachings either come front and centre, or he's like, no, I'm correct, and pushes them to the side. It's more interesting if he realises he's got to go dark. that's more interesting, because he's not going to get rude at Wembley. The one place he can do it. Anyway, pausing that story, because we're going to get to it when we get to the main event, and moving on to my example of what do you mean people thought this show might be a bit lower than AEW's normal pay-per-view stuff. Like, the next match is Kyle Fletcher versus Bandido. Like, what are we doing here? Of course this match is going to slap. And it was a smart, slow start to give Montreal a minute to recover their breath after the last match. Commentary did run out of things to talk about pretty quickly, though. Like, I swear they ended up talking about Kyle's boots for like a solid minute. Fletcher was all over Bandido in the first minutes. The Lucha Outlaws chops to no effect before a simple Aussie forearm grounded him right into his arse. The whole time Big Nice kept mentioning how he thought Kyle was making mistakes, taking his eye off Bandido to jab at the crowd or mock his opponent. Here in AEW, that means Bandido is going to eventually amp up and get Big Strong Boy slam with one arm. A Kyle lariat rotated the man inside out on the apron though, set up for a crazy sheer drop brainbuster onto the apron. Back into the waiting Aussie powerbomb arms, Fletcher was all over Bandido still, but there was no sign of death. Head of a counter sequence, head trapped full Nelson by Bandido. Fletcher tried to flip the man forward, but that meant his opponent's legs just hit the ropes and he rotated back into the 21-20 plex. It looked incredible. A second 21-20 fought off, a second sheer drop fought off, so a destroyer off the apron? No, they're not that crazy. That was fought off, but not entirely sure Fletcher would have preferred the powerbomb splat onto the ringside mat he ended up taking instead. Frog splash splat onto the floor too. Like, neither of these men know how to chill under the pay-per-view lights. Like, you're third on the card, you come after this huge, emotionally draining story match, and then you put out Kyle Fletcher and Bandido, who are always going to go to this crazy level on pay-per-view. Shooting star press back in the ring. Such a great final flow too. Montreal coming alive. Rising headbutts with an between each one. Like, what innovation. Truly elevating the format. What if we go between each headbutt? No brainbuster onto the top turnbuckle, just a tease for now. Instead of fall away moonsault, all Bandido impressive. 21-20 lined up and nailed. Kick out. Fight forever as Canada gave them all the chance. Stiff as fuck lariat brought Kyle back. Stiff as fuck knee. Brainbuster. Kick out. It's like, what a match. No turnbuckle brain times again. Winning the title that way against Takeshita means that Bandido was always on him to fight that move off. Bandido's jump up caught. Michinoku driver off the top. Kick out again. The whole flow with no remorse from Fletcher kicked in. Corner dart. Corner kick. Brainbuster on the turnbuckle. Fletcher retained in a match that absolutely slapped. I feel like if you saw this on the card, you knew this was going to be an incredible match. As I said, neither of them chill. They just go at it, and that final flow is just rapid. All the stars. Incredible match. Match before it was the tag with all the emotional story beats. This was just go out, have a banger, go at 1,000,000 miles per hour. That's why I question people who are like, oh, this might be a bit of a lesser show. It's got Fletcher Bandido on it. It can't possibly be lesser. Which isn't a great setup for the next match, I suddenly realise as I am about to talk. For me, it's a pro that AEW have their continued efforts to make every match on their pay-per-view feel entirely different. But, you know, now it's time for some chains. Did Matthew enjoy the chains? No. Matthew did not enjoy the chains. Double chain match. Bang Bang Gang, Jay White and Juice Robinson versus the Dogs, David Finney and Clark Connors. I'm not entirely sure this works. At least I was just watching it being like, they're not getting that loud reactions, and I'm not reacting as I'm watching it. Like, for me, it's funny kind of that I felt this was kind of a dud. Lots of growling and as the four swung chains at each other. Finley chained to White, Connors to Robinson. That pretty much reviews the whole match. Like, but fine, as I've actually got to talk about it. We got chain whips slammed onto a pull chain, tangled by chains in the corner. Simply just chain struck in the face. How about a senton chain? Uranagi chain? Is any of this working for you? Is this any of yours kind of kink? Like, I'm not getting any reactions out of this. Juice took the chain brunt of it, chain whipped and chain choked in the middle of the ring. Finley trapped Jay using chain physics over the ropes. Our first real reaction spot as White amped up big and strong, pulling on the chain to save his friend, sending Finley outside via the momentum, which then meant that he couldn't hit the Blade Runner when Finley pulled on his chain to stop him. Dominated from Finley had a scary but ultimately alright landing for Jay. Connors up high got chain yanked down and crashed onto the props on the side steel steps. Juice and Jay finally on top with Finley all by himself. Time to get to whipping. It felt like it was designed to be cathartic, but it just didn't get much of a reaction. Like, maybe a kind applause after? Like, oh, very kind of you, Montreal. Then Death Rider interference to give us a second bang bang music playing pop to stop them. It just felt very WWE to give us a dud, then end it with run-in and interference chaos to try and save it in the end. Shafir passes Shillelagh to Finley, swing and clobber to Juice's skull. The Dogs win. Didn't enjoy this at all. And the run-ins at the end felt to me like they knew it didn't have the amped up momentum to really deliver a solid ending, so it's run-in interference interference stuff that you see from the competition all the time. I don't mind it in AEW because they don't do it all the time. And because I'm not watching WWE at all at the moment, I don't get that irk from it. You see it all the time in WWE, so if you were to then see it in AEW, you go, because that's the reaction when you see it in WWE. WWE makes it thing equals bad, when one of my main things is I don't believe there is such thing as thing equals bad. It's just thing done badly. And this is an example of thing done badly, unfortunately. The match wasn't hitting. They tried to save it. That didn't hit either. It happens. Like, I'm not going to suddenly turn on AEW, say AEW dead. It's like, no, it's fine. Let me move on. Both acts are still hot. Well, at least the Bang Bang Gang's still hot. I like the Dogs. I don't know how over they are in terms of the fandom overall, and maybe that's me bringing over some of my New Japan fandom onto them. But yeah, I really like that act. I just think this match wasn't that great. The chains didn't do anything for me. Then onto the TBS Championship, Hikaru Shida versus Maher World. Shida painted as the bully who's just gotten worse since becoming champion. Maher, the young talent with heart, fighting through recently losing her brother, and commentary lent on both of these.
In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Notes a lot throughout this match. They kept mentioning both notes for both characters constantly. Shida worked the knee and got the woman all hobbling through her offense. Big knives set Maher up as now being in a state where she's got to show she can switch things up. Shida's work constantly crashed Maher back. Not a lot of mustard on her kickouts, but kickouts she did continue to do. 3 stiff knee strikes as Hikaru walked around all cocky, shoved the ref away after he wouldn't let her jump the potentially hurt head lady. Cost her in the end a beautiful roll away and fall away bridge pin. Maher World is the new TBS champion, and that's when Excalibur let us know, oh, by the way, it's her birthday too. So, to be fair, good call. If you told us that earlier, we would all know who's winning here. In AEW, if you're in that state, like, hometown people win on their birthdays, people win on anniversaries of things. Like, they're the goodie company. They don't do it just for the heat. Think of the heat, brother. They don't do that. So it's smart of Excalibur, with that conditioning, to be like, maybe we don't tell them till right at the end. Angry Shida swung her kendo stick at the barricade and got herded away by security. A wee moment to soak in Maya's win. And for me, there's a nice tone set up for the women's title match later in the show as well. Like, we'd already seen one title change. Makes you very expectant that the other one's going to change as well. Makes them both palatable. Plus, my main complaint about the Survival of the Fittest match was that it didn't elevate anyone. You've now massively elevated Maher World. That's a great sign. I still believe in the Survival of the Fittest. You could have elevated them in the match, then eliminated them. He didn't have to do nothing with them in the match. Anyway, I feel like that's good I'm going to hold for a little while. Maybe in a world where I've got a lot of positives, whenever there's a negative, suddenly that seems like, whoa, I've got to hold on to this. Anyway, the Tag Team Championships, Cobra Christian versus Claudio and Pac. Serious second half shift with Taz on commentary now and Justin Roberts announcing. The Death Men jumped Cobra and Christian before they could finish their entrances. Stompy stomp times before the bell. Montreal chanted something in French. Hey, at least Claudio understood it. Carl Fletcher earlier had no feckin' idea. Christian a unique hot tag given he still wrestles like a cheeky bellend. Pac and his Swiss friend flowed like a team in motion. Successfully split Adam and Christian from each other for the majority of the match. An away match with the Death Riders, though, with the Canadians clapping for their beloved old men. Counter Christian had his moments, like knees up for Pac's shooting star, but he was just separated and soon enough was getting swung around all dizzy. In trying to keep Cope over the barricade, Claudio got himself tossed over. Our first proper distraction for Christian to kill switch. Cope's turn for the hot tag chop chop, adrenaline rush over both the Death Men. But with Christian down, we were right back into Cope now being the lad 2-on-1. Might have even lost it if it were not for Pac's cheating costing him. Legs on the ropes caught by ref Bryce. Which for this match was just like a little note, but for the show overall, set up a little bit of consistency for later. Our first spear call and charge hopped over. Assisted neutralizer thing finally drew Christian back into the action to break up the pin. Caused Claudio to be busy. Cope crossface, track back into genuine concern. Swiss save and back up and back and forth corner running fun. Backfired. Cope speared Claudio and it's a pop-up. Spear from Adam. 1, 2, 3. The tag champions retain. And before the crowd could sing Metalingus, super kick, partay. Finally, we got our Wembley Dream tag stare down. And our official graphic confirmed. Dickhead Christian refused to shake their hands though. Commentary amping this up as a massive huge deal. Confirming it for the Canadian fans as well was a really smart move. Means you're going to get the best reaction you possibly can for a Cope and Christian tag announcement. They're not doing the tribute to the tables, ladders and chairs like I thought they might do. But they've already had the Chaos match with FTR. Like, do they need to do another one with the Young Bucks? I don't know. I think last week I said I didn't know which exact route they were going to go. Was it going to be a straight match with the Bucks? Were they going to have FTR in there? Were they going to do a three-way with Didder? Were they going to insert a fourth? But the thing I came to last week was every road feels entertaining enough. My only downside has been getting to this point has feel like a bit like a slog. It's like, okay, let's get here. I was always excited for the actual thing, and yeah, they did it. They've announced the thing in exciting fashion, treating it like a huge dream match. Do you want to know what's the opposite of a dream match? Jericho versus Tommaso Ciampa, no holds barred. Like, oh man, I somehow forgot this was on the card. Like, how could I, when the Painmaker persona is so gloriously shit? How could I forget? And what's he got in his pocket? It's a bag full of sand. See? Isn't the Painmaker terrifying? I'm not getting magician vibes at all. And then the smoke of a fire extinguisher, like, oh, come on, you're just ribbing me now. Like, what are we doing here? Ciampa's turn started with the arms underhook to crash Jericho through a ringside table before local sports heat. Hockey stick before putting on a hockey jersey for, I assume, the local rivals. Then beat up a stuffed toy of the team's mascot. Like, I'm not losing it, am I? The video package did hype this up with a blood warning of escalating violence, didn't it? Because I'm watching Jericho post a camera with a stuffed toy. Like, did AEW suddenly run into a wall of another arena that won't let him do blood? No. No. We weren't done with the silly yet. Thumbtacks and hockey pucks, definitely in Canada. Suplex onto the tacks and pucks. Like, hey, the Canadians were having a whale of a time. They did their ole, 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 ole. Finally, the blood got to pouring. That sandpaper was pretty brutal on Ciampa's bold noggin. It was a match of two halves, with just pure silly nonsense of the first half, making way for a barbed wire table for a bloody Sicilian. A hockey puck stabbing in return to Jericho's forehead, and we got a camera shot later, close-up showing a tack stuck in that forehead. What's in Ciampa's mystery black bag? An elbow pad of tacks, of course. Barbed wire table times, Death Valley driver off the apron to poor Ciampa. The barbs got properly caught in the man's bicep and then rear thigh area, as Excalibur called it. Well, he's just got an ability just to get awkward around anything potentially lewd. Just anything. Jericho stabs a top rope sat Tommaso with a pencil or something. Shots of the bloody man gave Jericho a chance to carefully grab a mirror. Set it up on a chair bridge. Corner suplex fun times, or whoever sets it gets it. The latter, a raid crash through the mirror with both men going, in the shards of glass. And now here came the drill. Were they really going to try and pay it off? Ciampa got it whirring to show it was working as the crowd chanted, "This is murder." The doctor checking the glass on Jericho's back as that happened was a nice cheeky way to feed the man his poison mist. Like, thanks doc, just what I needed. This time a barbed wire mirror smashed over the back of Ciampa to then smash the sharded side over the back. That tack covered elbow pad was set for Ciampa's face via Judas. Then the drill. It actually worked into the finish. They actually tried. So, is there a way we can mask it, or we could somewhat believe that Jericho drilled into his head and not do it in such a violent way? If we're like, technically, if you're masking it, you could do a blood spurting up effect, but they don't want to be too violent. You want it all to just be insinuated rather than like something happening. Just so obscured from the camera, obviously, and a quick ring of the bell in Ciampa's submission before the man dove out the ring, covering the top of his head, just selling like he had been drilled into a little bit. If anything, worth the cage match description of one via drill. So at least I've got that to go back on. If I forget about this match and in years' time, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll look back at that show, and then see all the descriptions for the victories, and one says one via drill. it's like, oh yeah, they did do that. So yeah, I think I'm not going to forget that this match was on the card like, for a little while. It wasn't a, whoa, this is cool, they're working the drill into that, I can't believe it. It was more of a, oh wow, I'm cheering because they're actually going to try. It's like it's not fair play to them. It's more of a come on, this is nonsense. Come on, work it in. Yeah, you did it. It's more along that line. Then on to a straight up wrestling match. The AEW National Championship, Mark Davies versus Andrade El Idolo. A new The Real Latino Man presentation with 4 women akimbo. How you know up on the screen as well. And a laugh with the lighting rig obscuring the upper half of the screens above the ring on the wide shot, so it just read Latino Man like a matter-of-fact descriptor of Andrade in the ring. In that case, Latino Man versus Australian Bear got underway in rapid fashion. That stiff elbow snapped immediately and nearly won in seconds. Big Dunkzilla forced into quick reply before slowing the match right down. Already came out with 4 ladies, met a 5th at ringside for a selfie before sipping a fan's beer to spit it into Davies' face with Excalibur like, he's Australian though, that'll just wake him up. A slugfest of a chop battle. Hella meat slapping meat. Andrade got his fanciful flow, but when Davies hit back it was just clobber shots and gut hoists. Moonsault over the ring post, clear with ease in spite of the, are you sure you want to do that? In full flow with his signatures, got the crowd chanting, take your pants off. I called it a little while back, but he should be ripping those things off in the height of his momentum. Like, yeah! That's not the vibe we got at all here. They weren't tear off. He had to, slide them down. And I was like, oh, no, that's less momentum cool. Because everyone says, yeah, take your pants off. And then he very slowly takes them off. That's not quite what I was going for. How you know, written on his butt, with them really leaning into his catchphrase. Part of me thought they're leaning into it a bit too much where it's going to become uncool because it's now over all of him. It's all of his presentation has suddenly got how you know over it. Big Dunk looked like he was about to swing Slugger when big boot, back elbow, snap, swiftly into the DM, 1, 2, 3. New national champion Andrade just in time for Wembley. For me, this is a good example of none of these title changes are bad because they're predictable. Every single one of them get you excited for what's going to come next. I mean, the TBS Championship one, I don't think that was super predictable. I entirely believe the world where they'd go with a relatively safe established stars match because it's the TBS Championship. Instead of going with, they've taken a swing. They're taking a swing on a new person, which is really cool to see. Maybe for me, that's a bit of WWE brain sticking in there. It's like, why would they take a risk on someone new when you got an established star for your big O? Because you need stars past this show. You need to be constantly creating new folk. But also, every single thing that's being set up for the big shows is so interesting that with this being the show right before Wembley, every single match result is under the Wembley shadow. So obviously, I'm not looking at Andrade just winning a title on this show and being like, oh, that was predictable. So no, I'm looking at it being like, okay, so now he's got his Wembley platform, he gets to have his big match at the Wembley thing. I'm still holding off for Will Ospreay Andrade being the match after Wembley. And the final title change was for the AEW Women's Championship, Tekla versus Willow Nightingale. Black and yellow jacket with a cape. Tekla was out to defend, dressed like a killer bee. And this was a match that I was really enjoying, and then the finish just happened. I felt like he could have gone for 2 banger matches at the end. Maybe time was reserved for the main event and its angle, because they dedicated a lot of time to the post-match for the main event. But actually, we'll get to it as I talk about the match. Mercedes was up in her box watching on, as Willow bandaged right up on the ear, and the Australian went for it, immediately just prodding and biting at the woman. A tad of a unique early baddie working over segment. There's usually less ear biting. Then Willow got out of an early submission by biting Austrian fingers, so it goes both ways. Great little bit with spider submission times, grabbing at Willow's face to forcefully pull a smile on the woman, and a really swish countered the first spear attempt, flipping over Sunset. And referee consistency, our second official quarter wrestler grabbing at the ropes, all villain cheeky. Willow fired herself up to moonsault, nobody home, into spear attempt number 2, caught again, this time gut wrench into powerbomb, and the sign of the faction being scared, with Sky Blue coming down to make the save, got herself ran into, shifted into the final rush and upper gear to, that's the end. Willow kicked out the spear and then just rolled Tekla up in the next little sequence. Felt like it was missing a third act. It felt like that spear was going to be the igniting into the third act, and the very first move in that match was the pin to win it. Just bam, there's the ending. Not that I'm an Englishman calling for AEW pay-per-views to be, even longer. It's difficult. If you're not watching it live, it's really difficult to get through these shows. But it did feel like in the momentum of the match, we just hit that next elevation that the match was looking for, and immediately it ends. It's like, oh, that's a shame. I'm going to get my Willow banger of a match at Wembley. It's like, oh, it would have been nice if Tekla's reign ended with one as well, though. We just got to it. It felt like both women were capable enough. Yes, we've got to that gear. Sky Blue helped us kick it into there. We're right there. But then it didn't happen. The conglomeration all and out to hug and give Willow her championship backpack. Mercedes up high lifted her title up just for the shot. Willow's not paying any attention. She's celebrating with her friends. And another match that was expected, the second Willow came back. Willow getting that huge stage against Mercedes. Because I've adored the work that Tekla has done. It's a shame that she's not champion at the big show. But also in terms of creating that new star, it feels like Willow is right on the verge. She's an absolute fan favourite. And this could be an absolutely momentous match for her career as a big AEW name. Talk about using big matches to elevate folk. The main event, the AEW Championship, Kenny Omega versus Kevin Knight. So first we've got an excellent match to get through. Then I can talk about the story beats that I set up earlier. Mega heat for the man who turned on their Canadian speedball hero. And sure, being against a Canadian wrestling god doesn't help him either. And then he jumped Kenny during Justin Roberts' moment just to solidify those boos. Like in the early stages, we'd let him soliloquy as he slammed a head into the announce desk. This is my time, Kenny. A lengthy fecker of a match too, with them setting the pace in the first, then shifting up a gear, then throwing everything, before Knight's frustration grew too much. The note for Kenny said immediately during the man's entrance by Excalibur. Some are saying this is the best Kenny Omega there's ever been. Like, first off, who is saying that? Who is the sum in these ones? Like, but that's how Will Ospreay's story beat out on display. How can he beat the best Kenny Omega when he couldn't go for the kill against Nick Jackson? The crowd chanted Speedball's better, as the Canadians kindly sang one of Kevin's main character motivations at him. It's always nice and convenient when they do that for you. The gear shift was our cue for V-triggers and Snapdragons. Love Knight's sale for the one on the apron to just stumble groggy over the announce desk and take the protector off to properly crawl over it. Like, I would love to see that kind of sale more, where instead of it grounding you, it sends you groggy and you just do a load of random stuff. Just do things around ringside, just walk about, just interact with people before just collapsing. Ask your manager for a drink of water, then you're like, okay, I'm good to go, then just collapse. Just do a full movement of stuff. Third Snapdragon on the announce desk. Also love the crowd playing ball and going fully quiet so they could absorb the impact of Kenny's stiff knees to a sack groggy Kevin. There's multiple ways to have a sign of an invested crowd. They don't always need to be making noise or making chants or whatever. Here they went quiet so they could absorb it, soak it in, and then have that huge reaction afterwards. Champion Kenny ordered Knight to stiff strike fight back, then to give him more. Like, the whole thing working so well, like getting that crowd behind their champion, like fighting with honour and dominating. A cheeky rake of the eyes will take care of that though. Finally, Springboard Kevin got to fly, met with a drop kick and an oof landing thud on his left thigh for Knight. Knight mixing his impressive athletics with cheeky villainy is so fun, like him leaping up onto the top rope and then just biting Kenny's head. Teased a fourth Snapdragon, this time from the on top, but nay, and into the dangled tree. Great stuff from Bryce where he was doing his best to untangle Kenny before bam, coast to coast. Just so brutal and beautiful. You still suck from the Canadians after Kevin had hit such an awesome move. Then came the cheeky belly frustration. AEW title distraction so he could Urinagi onto the TNT belt. Weak kick out, but we'd shifted into that next act. So freaking good for those couple final minutes. Back and forth with such a beautiful flip out of the one-winged angel. Then a beautifully beautiful move from Kenny for the V-trigger knee to meet Kevin's little hop. It's one of those where the guy ducks under so you do the hop, but obviously Kenny didn't do that, so Kevin just hopped up in the air, got kicked in the face. One-winged angel snapped in quick for the win. A wee replay and celebration before our show closing angle and TV setting segment. Death Riders jumping on in. Mox and the gang had so much fun. Working together, they got the job done. Chair wrapped around Kenny's head for Claudio's killing stomp. William says no. Shooed the gang off before swinging with the chair in protection. Made his decision. Took his stand against Mox. Then Mox's words in his ear. The Canadians were hopefully translating what we couldn't hear. Do it, do it. Head to head with Mox into something far worse. Mox handed over a plastic bag to Will. Kiss on the cheek telling him to Bryan Danielson the man. And he ripped the bag apart. Still won't do it. Stiff strike decked Mox. All the riders out and hidden blade to pack. The crowd was singing for Ospreay come the end of the show. But then he took sight of the AEW Championship. Gave time for the awkward passover. Pause for now. Match graphic. Match confirmed. Up in the corner posers. One-winged angel. Kenny Omega gets the final say. The bang in his face and commentators were somewhat translating of maybe it was something like the fact you even thought about it pisses me off, even though he didn't do it. So he one-winged him there and then. The show actually ending with Kenny Omega and the Bucks posing with Will Ospreay down in the ring. There's so many notes to work with there. Setting up Will Ospreay working with the Elite, and then the ending, the way that went, maybe Will Ospreay's going to be a little bit on his own. Because AEW can just do the realm of fun. For me, the ultimate realm of fun is just do Will Ospreay teaming with the Elite to face the Death Riders. That's the fun route. If you want to go the emotional story character route where he's got to get over stuff, you've essentially set up Will Ospreay having to run through a heel stable to get to the big match. If you want to do it that way, that feels somewhat standard for what you've set up. You can maybe have one or two Death Rider matches, but the ultimate thing for me is have Will Ospreay team with the Elite at some point during this run. Then you got the actual animosity set up for the story for Wembley between Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega themselves. Will Ospreay's entire story throughout this show set up so many great possible routes for the actual match. Be it him breaking free of Mox's teachings to become his own guy. Be it in the match him realising Mox was correct. And so he's like, I can't win unless I make this decision. Like, there's so many great possible notes and character beats which they could take, which are super interesting to me. It's why I can't call this show like bad at all. It absolutely did its job as a pit stop, getting you really excited for Wembley. Loads of matches confirmed, as well as priming the television, all set up and everything. And the show absolutely flew by. Like, for me trying to get through this during different parts during the day, like, it took about 4 or 5 different bits, different things to get. It's a long show. Like, I've got shit on. Like, it's a long show. But it absolutely didn't feel lesser. If anything, it highlighted just how much momentum momentum all of AEW stories have right now going into Wembley. Sure, for one of them, the matches didn't hit, but I can't argue that the Bang Bang Gang aren't over. Like, they very much are. And maybe the Jericho Ciampa match is for somebody. Maybe somebody enjoys that. The commentator said that there was a kid behind them shouting for them to set a table on fire. So there was somebody sicko enough to enjoy it. But yeah, for me, absolutely great show. Can't wait for Dynamite. Can't wait for Wembley. For me, that's the best sign of a job well done. If I'm leaving the show just really excited to watch the next thing of your product, then absolutely nailed. They did a review for the entire show. Did a really good job of setting all of the different parts up for Wembley and for the television over the next month. Apart from the chain match, I had none of that. And to be fair, I was taking the piss out of the Jericho Ciampa match. But that's the kind of match that I can have fun taking the piss out of. I wasn't bored watching it. If I've got different bars of measurement, I was just kind of bored not having much reactions to the chain match. I wasn't bored during the Jericho match. There was a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of things either making me chuckle or whatever. Like, I'm not going to rate it highly, but I wasn't bored. Like, don't be mistaken. Anyway, before I make the edit of this way too long, because the pay-per-view shows always have a lot to talk about, and then my recordings always overrun. Just keeping my format's always difficult. And because I need to get the edit out on the same day, it's always a crunch. Anyway, so with that, I say thank you for listening, liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated. Never take it for granted. I'll be back this time next week to talk about our first shows properly on our final building run-up to Wembley. It's a standard Dynamite and Collision this next week, but after that we've got Arena Mexico, which was a really fun show last time. To end it last year, it was a standout show for the weekly shows. So anyway, that brings me to the end of the show. With that, I bid you adieu. Ta-ra, duckies. Ta-ra.
In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.